I'm Aubrey. The boardroom was filled with palpable tension as Gemma stood at the head of the table, confidently presenting her findings on the Winton project. Her voice was steady as she detailed the alleged flaws in our work, painting a dire picture of a project on the verge of collapse. I watched her, my heart pounding in my chest, knowing that the next few minutes would determine the fate of my team and the future of the company. As Gemma wrapped up her presentation, she recommended immediate intervention by an external specialist, Vanguard Systems, and proposed an additional budget of $2,300,000. The board members exchanged worried glances, and I could feel the weight of their scrutiny on me. This was the moment I had been waiting for, the culmination of weeks of planning and preparation. I stood up slowly, my hands trembling slightly. Before we make any hasty decisions, I said, my voice surprisingly calm, I'd like to run a quick demonstration. I connected my laptop to the projector, and the screen displayed the sleek and functional interface of the Winton platform. This is the actual current build of Winton as of this morning, I explained. I'll run a standard security test sequence. The system executed perfectly, the security protocols engaging precisely as designed. Confusion spread across the boardroom, and Gemma's expression hardened. That's impossible, she said. The reports clearly showed critical failures in those exact protocols. Those reports were modified, I stated simply, just as the project files were tampered with. I changed the display to show a split-screen security recording. The left side showed Gemma entering the building late at night, and the right side displayed her computer screen as she methodically altered test results and inserted malicious code into the project files. The boardroom erupted in chaos. Gemma lunged for my laptop, shouting, "This is fabricated. They're trying to frame me." Security personnel entered the room, summoned by Hugo's discreet signal. I continued calmly. We've also compiled similar patterns from her previous 3 companies. In each case, departments were eliminated, emergencies were discovered, and Vanguard Systems was brought in at premium rates. Raj distributed folders containing financial analysis showing suspicious payments to offshore accounts following each Vanguard contract. These are kickbacks, he explained. Approximately 20% of each contract value was routed through shell companies back to personal accounts. Jerome studied the documents, his expression grave. The pattern is undeniable. Gemma's professional facade completely collapsed. "You set me up," she snarled at me. "You created a trap." "No," I replied evenly. "We simply watched while you did exactly what you've done at 3 other companies. The difference is that this time we were paying attention." Hugo stood up. "Security will escort you to clear your office, Gemma. The company lawyer is waiting to discuss next steps." As she was led away, still protesting, the tension in the room transformed into stunned silence. It all started 5 years ago. I joined Sterling Enterprises as a project coordinator. I was the quiet one in the office, efficient and often overlooked by upper management. But I was a keen observer. I studied which products succeeded, which failed, and how decisions were made. I realized that the real backbone of the company were the unsung heroes scattered throughout the departments, the ones who solved problems without seeking recognition, the ones who stayed late without complaint, and the ones whose ideas were often stolen, but kept creating anyway. 18 months ago, the company faced a severe crisis. Sales had dropped 40% in 2 quarters, and 3 major clients had jumped to competitors. Panic spread through every department, and layoffs began, starting with the newest employees. I approached the CEO, Henry Thompson, with a proposal. "Give me 8 people and 6 months to turn things around. No official announcement, no fancy office space, just resources and the freedom to work differently." Henry was skeptical. "Why should I trust you with this?" he asked. "Because everyone else is trying the same solutions that got us here," I replied. "We need people who think differently." Reluctantly, he agreed. I hand-picked 8 individuals who had been overlooked by others. There was Ava, a 28-year-old programmer from a small town. Her parents were hard-working farmers who instilled in her a strong work ethic and a love for problem-solving. Ava had a unique ability to spot patterns that no one else could see. Then there was Leo, a 32-year-old designer. His father was an artist, and his mother was a teacher. Leo's sketches captured not just the function of a product, but also the emotions it could evoke. Mia, a 30-year-old customer service representative, came from a large family. Her parents were community leaders, and she had a gift for remembering every client conversation. Rajiv, a 35-year-old accountant, was the son of a finance professor. He questioned every spending assumption and was always looking for ways to optimize costs. Carlos, a 40-year-old janitor, had engineering skills from his homeland. His parents were factory workers, and he had learned a lot about machinery and systems from them. Linda, a 26-year-old receptionist, was multilingual. Her parents were immigrants, and she had grown up speaking multiple languages. She loved reading industry reports in her free time. Ethan, a 33-year-old delivery driver, understood our product failures better than our engineers. His father was a mechanic, and he had a deep understanding of how things worked. And finally, Grace, a 38-year-old cafeteria worker, had 3 patents before emigrating here. Her parents were inventors, and she had inherited their innovative spirit. We claimed a forgotten storage room as our headquarters. While others attended endless crisis meetings, we redesigned products, rebuilt customer relationships, and reimagined how the company operated. Within 6 months, sales stabilized. By 10 months, growth returned. The executives celebrated their leadership, but we continued our quiet work, making improvements that went unnoticed until they bore fruit. Henry knew what we had accomplished. He doubled our budget and gave us the freedom to choose projects. We became the Special Solutions Initiative, but most employees had no idea we existed. Then came the restructuring. Henry was pressured by investors to bring in efficiency experts. That's when Stella arrived. Stella Reed had a reputation for cutting costs by eliminating departments. She had closed entire divisions at 3 different companies, always delivering short-term profit boosts while leaving a trail of destruction behind. Her nickname in industry circles was the Reaper. Our first meeting should have been a warning. "So you run this Special Solutions team?" she asked, glancing at her tablet. "What exactly do you solve?" "We identify problems before they become crises," I explained. "Our work on the Winton system prevented a major security breach last quarter." She scrolled through the figures on her tablet. "Your team costs $1,200,000 annually. That's excessive for support functions." "We're not support. We're innovation," I replied. "Every department claims they're essential." Her smile never reached her eyes. "I need measurable outcomes, not stories." I provided reports detailing our contributions. $14 million in prevented losses. 5 new product features that increased market share. Customer retention improvements worth $3 million annually. She set them aside without reading. "I'll review these when I have time." For 3 weeks, she shadowed departments, interviewed employees, and examined budgets. She never once spoke with my team members or asked about our work. I watched her building her case against us, searching for evidence to support her predetermined conclusion. One Friday, she walked into my office and said, "Fire your entire team by Friday, or I'll do it for you." Her voice was as cold as ice, as if she was discussing the weather rather than 8 people's livelihoods. I gripped my pen tightly. "They've exceeded every target this quarter." "Numbers on spreadsheets don't matter," she said. "Your little collection of oddballs costs twice what standard teams do." The decision's made. I looked through the glass walls of my office and saw my team hard at work. Ava was coding with her headphones on, Leo was sketching product designs, and Mia was talking animatedly on the phone with a client. "They need proper notice," I said, trying to keep my voice steady. "At least 2 weeks." "Friday," she said, straightening her black suit jacket. "I've been brought in to streamline operations, and your team is the definition of excess. Handle it yourself or security will escort them out. Your choice." That night, I messaged everyone to meet at the park behind the office building. When they arrived, I told them the news. Shock spread across their faces. "But the Winton launch is next month," Ava protested. "They can't." "She says we're too expensive," I said. "What about our results?" Leo asked quietly. "Apparently, they don't matter." Mia stood up, arms crossed. So, that's it? 3 years of killing ourselves for this company, and we're trash to be thrown out. I twisted the silver ring on my finger, a nervous habit. No, I said. We're going to show her exactly who we are. We came up with a plan. For the next 3 days, we pretended to be defeated. We packed our personal items gradually, transferred project files to shared drives, and trained replacement contacts. Stella observed with obvious satisfaction. On Thursday afternoon, she stopped by my office. "I'm pleased you're handling this professionally," she said. "Some managers get emotional." "I understand business necessities," I replied, placing framed photos in a cardboard box. "This is why you'll survive the cuts. You're practical." She tapped her tablet. "I've scheduled exit interviews tomorrow at 2 p.m. Security will collect access cards afterward." After she left, I sent a final message to the team. Activation Blue Protocol. On Friday, my team cleared their desks, said their goodbyes, and attended the exit interviews. By 5 p.m., they were officially no longer employees of Sterling Enterprises. Stella sent me a brief message. "Clean execution. Well done." I didn't reply. Instead, I called Henry. "It's time," I said. Everything proceeded as expected. "Are you sure about this, Aubrey?" "There's significant risk," he said. "I'm certain." Monday's board meeting. Full demonstration. "Considered approved," he said after a moment's hesitation. Over the weekend, I prepared for the board meeting. I could barely sleep on Sunday night, my mind racing through all the possible scenarios. By Monday morning, I felt a strange sense of calm. I arrived early, dressed in a deep blue suit I had never worn to the office before. Stella was already there, reviewing presentations for the quarterly board meeting. "I've included your team's elimination in the efficiency highlights," she informed me. 10% immediate cost reduction is impressive. "Thank you for featuring our contribution," I replied, my voice neutral. At 9 a.m., the board members began to arrive. 12 men and women in expensive suits filed into the main conference room, greeted by Stella with practiced charm. "We have significant progress to report," she told them, pointing to the seats. "The restructuring is already showing results." I stood quietly at the back of the room, watching. At precisely 9:15, the side door opened. Henry entered first, followed by my team. Stella's presentation stalled mid-sentence as confusion crossed her face. "What are they doing here?" She hissed at me. The board members stood up, greeting my team with handshakes, hugs, and warm smiles. Stella's polished demeanor cracked as she watched Henry embrace Carlos like an old friend. "How's your daughter's art project going?" Henry asked. "She won first place," Carlos beamed. "The Art Scholarship Committee interviews next week." Across the room, our lead investor, Sophia, was showing Ava pictures on her phone. "The coding workshop was a huge success," Sophia said. 20 girls, all creating their first apps. They still talk about your session. Stella stepped toward Henry, her voice tight. "What's happening?" "These people were terminated on Friday." "Were they?" Henry replied mildly. "I don't recall authorizing that." The board meeting hadn't officially begun, but the room had transformed into a reunion. Rajiv and the finance director discussed community investment plans. Ethan chatted with 3 board members about fishing trips. Linda approached with a tray of coffee. She handed a cup to the eldest board member, Charles. "1 cream, no sugar, with cinnamon," she said. Charles squeezed her hand. "Just how I like it. How's your granddaughter doing at college?" "Top of her class." That recommendation letter opened every door. Each interaction revealed connections that Stella had never known about. Relationships built through years of genuine interaction, not corporate networking events. Stella's gaze darted between faces, and I could almost see the calculations in her eyes. She grabbed my elbow, her fingernails digging through my jacket. "You set me up," she whispered furiously. "You knew who they were." I gently removed her hand. "You never asked who they were. You saw expenses on a spreadsheet, not people." Henry called the meeting to order. My team members didn't leave as Stella expected. Instead, they took seats among the board, not as visitors, but as participants. Before we begin our quarterly review, Henry said, I believe we should address Friday's events. Stella straightened her spine. As part of our efficiency initiatives, we eliminated an unnecessary specialty team that was draining resources without measurable return. The room fell silent. Then Charles chuckled. Unnecessary? You mean the team that saved this company? Stella's professional smile faltered. The financial data clearly showed. Perhaps we should clarify what this team actually does, Henry interrupted. Aubrey, would you introduce the Special Solutions Initiative properly? I stood up, feeling oddly calm. 18 months ago, when we faced potential bankruptcy, I proposed creating a team that worked differently, not bound by traditional department limits. People selected for problem-solving abilities, not credentials. I pointed to each team member as I continued. Ava redesigned our entire security infrastructure after identifying vulnerabilities nobody else spotted. Leo's product redesigns increased user satisfaction by 42%. Mia rebuilt relationships with clients we'd nearly lost. With each achievement I listed, Stella's expression tightened. She flipped frantically through her tablet, searching for information she had never bothered to collect. But these accomplishments aren't in the quarterly reports, she protested. They are, Rajiv said, just not labeled as our work. We solve problems, then hand solutions to the appropriate departments for implementation. Which is why, I continued, terminating them without consultation was a significant error. The Winton launch next month relies entirely on their work. Sophia leaned forward. Stella, did you review the team's actual contributions before making this decision? I requested data, she said defensively. What I received didn't justify their budget. I provided comprehensive reports. I countered, opening my laptop. Including this email thread where you acknowledged receipt, but never discussed the contents. The projector displayed our exchange, my detailed reports attached to multiple messages, her cursory responses, without substantive engagement. Sophia frowned. So you eliminated a team without understanding their function? I understood their expense, Stella insisted. Efficiency requires difficult decisions. Efficiency without effectiveness is just organized failure, Charles said, triggering murmurs of agreement around the table. Henry stood up. Let's be clear about what happened. Stella terminated 8 people whose work is critical to projects representing 30% of next quarter's projected revenue. The temperature in the room seemed to drop. The board members exchanged worried glances. Fortunately, Henry continued, Aubrey alerted me to the situation. Officially, these team members were transferred to special project status directly under board supervision. They never stopped working. Relief rippled through the room, followed by focused attention as Henry launched into the quarterly presentation. Graphs showed improvement across all metrics. Each spike was secretly connected to my team's work. Throughout the presentation, Stella sat rigid, her eyes fixed forward, her knuckles white against her tablet. Her carefully constructed narrative of heroic cost cutting was unraveling with each slide. During a brief break, I stepped into the hallway for water. Stella followed me. You deliberately undermined me, she said, her voice low but intense. No, I replied. I gave you multiple opportunities to understand what we do. You chose not to listen. This isn't over. The board may be impressed by your little display of connections, but numbers don't lie. Your team is still overpriced. I fill my cup slowly. That's where you're wrong. The board isn't impressed by connections. They're impressed by results. Results can be reinterpreted, she said with sudden coldness. Reports can be reanalyzed. Something in her tone made me pause. What does that mean? She smiled thinly. It means I've been brought in to make difficult changes, and I won't be deterred by office politics or friendship networks. Before I could respond, we were called back into the meeting. The meeting resumed with project reviews, but I couldn't shake the veiled thread in her words. As presentations continued, I noticed Stella typing rapidly on her tablet, occasionally glancing toward Henry with calculation in her eyes. Whatever had happened that morning hadn't defeated her. It had merely changed her strategy. When the meeting ended, the board members lingered to chat with my team. Stella approached Henry, speaking too quietly for me to hear. His expression remained neutral, but he nodded several times before she departed. What was that about? I asked when I could finally speak with Henry privately. She's requesting access to all financial data related to your team's projects, he said. Says she needs to conduct a comprehensive analysis. That's reasonable, I admitted. But I don't trust her motives. Neither do I, which is why I'm assigning Rajiv to assist her. Full transparency, full supervision. I nodded, relieved but still uneasy. Over the next week, a strange calm descended. My team returned to their workspace, continuing projects as before. Stella retreated to her office, surrounded by spreadsheets and reports. She was polite when we passed in the hallways, but offered nothing beyond professional courtesy. On Thursday, Rajiv reported back after 3 days working with Stella. She's searching for inefficiencies, he said, pushing his glasses up his nose. But also asking questions about decision processes, approval chains, who signs off on what. Mapping the power structure. I mused. Exactly. And she's particularly interested in the Winton project.